Yo, it's the Wake and Make podcast, not that Wake and Bake nonsense. We ain't puffing clouds, we building empires. Straight hustle, no bluffing, Kanak. On the mic, Perkins Roofing Kingpin. Construction, franchising, consulting, that's the full win. From shingling roofs to stacking freedom, no cap. We dropping gems so you can level up your own map. Aspiring bosses in the trades, listen close, this for you. Leadership lessons, cash flow moves, macro trends coming through. Real estate waves crashing, construction grind never sleeps. We break it down raw, micro wins, big leaps. No fluff, no filter, just truth with a side of edge. Cause dreaming small gets you broke, dream big instead. So grab your hammer, your laptop, your vision board too. Wake up, make moves, wake and make, we coming for you. Wake up, make moves, wake and make, we coming for you.
What's going on? Welcome to the Wake and Make podcast. This is episode 1. And for episode 1, you're going to get double teamed with Tims. You got me, the host, Tim Kanak, and we got my buddy here, Tim Dyer from Trade Productions.
Oh, yeah, a little TNT action.
TNT, love it. So you got TNT here today. And Tim at Trade Productions, just a little intro. I'm going to let him mostly tell his story on how he got started. But Trade Productions, they install roofs, and then he made a secondary shop for metal. So he does metal fabrication for metal roofing in South Florida. And so I'm going to let Tim mostly tell his story here. But Tim, just give us a little bit of a background on like how you got started in roofing and then basically how that transitioned into the metal shop and the business that you guys have today.
Definitely, man. All right. So I got a little background of where I started. Entrepreneurship, everybody, a lot of people want to sell it like it's easy and okay, you'll have all this time off to sit and relax on the beach. And what the reality of it is you're going to work harder than you ever have in your life. You are going to get kicked in the balls more times than you can digest. But it's hard to sell that. It's hard to sell that, All it takes is consistency. I've been relatively successful, and it's not because I'm smarter. It's not because I'm more gifted than everybody else out here, but I stayed consistent. I always worked hard. I always strived for excellence. So I started working about 13 years old in the summer. I was doing plumbing on my summers off from school over the summer. And I did that from about 13 to 15. About 15 years old, I got a job as a bag boy at Publix, started bagging groceries, bought my first car at 15 before I was even able to drive it. Quit stealing my mom's car at that point. So bag boy at Publix, I dropped out of school. I made it through 10th grade and ended up dropping out, getting my GED, getting a girlfriend. Moved out of my parents' house because me and Pops were butting heads. Thought I was ready to be a man. Got into plumbing at 16. I was doing plumbing during the day. I was doing Publix at night and doing everything I could to pay the bills. Ended up getting married at 17, having my first kid at 18. Was able to get our first house at 18. And once I turned 18, Publix offered me full time. So I'm weighing, I enjoyed plumbing. I enjoyed working with my hands and building things, but I needed insurance, the 401k, the security blanket. So I got out of plumbing and I went full time to Publix and worked my way up the ladder. At 21, I got into a management position at Publix. I think it was around 97, somewhere around there. I was just getting in management and Publix got hit with a class action lawsuit from the women. And now all of a sudden a couple women got promoted over me that weren't qualified. I was getting a little disgruntled. Me and the wife weren't getting along. We ended up getting divorced. And then they got hit with another class action lawsuit from the minorities. Me being a white man, figured I'm fucked. So I ended up retiring from Publix. I had about 7 years in. I had public stock. I had some 401k I was putting into. And I cashed all that out. Went and leased a couple gas stations. I did that. Didn't even last a year because it was the absolute worst business I ever got in my life. Employees stealing from you, just not showing up. We got robbed a couple of times. It was exciting.
In a bad way.
yeah, not in a good way. But it taught me some life lessons, man. And being a manager at Publix too taught me some life lessons. You know, I was hard-headed and I was full of pride and ego because here I am. I was the youngest guy really to get in management in Publix at this time at 21 years old. I thought I was the shit, you know, and I got all these stock guys under me, and I was a little bit of an asshole. I still am, but they ended up deciding they were going to go on strike on me one night because I'm such an asshole. None of them are doing any work. They call me back to the bottle room. That's where they kept the water and soda. And they were about ready to fight me, about 4 of them. And I was ready to fight them. I said, fuck it, let's go. And it was heated. We exchanged words. I walked off, started stocking the shelves myself. Out of fuck it, I'll do it myself. About an hour into it, killing myself and not enough getting done, I realized that I had to go back and I had to admit that I was an asshole and that I did need these guys. So that was my first lesson in needing a team around you to be successful.
This podcast is brought to you by Perkins Roofing. That's right. Established in 1980, Perkins Roofing has been roofing South Florida from the Florida Keys up to Port St. Lucie on the East Coast since 1980. We also travel through the whole state. We do the West Coast as well. So if you need a roof in Florida, call Perkins Roofing. For Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Keys, 305 MIA Roof. For the rest of Florida, call 561-559-ROOF. This podcast is also brought to you by Perkins Construction. Perkins Construction is our GC brand. We do all work from the GC, from everything. We do concrete restoration, from high-rise concrete restoration to simple repairs around your house, drywall repairs, whatever. So window installs, impact windows, impact doors, concrete restoration, painting, kitchens, bathrooms. We do Perkins Construction. And we also have Perkins Franchising. Perkins Franchising. If you want to franchise with me, then email me, franchise@perkinsroofing.net for more information. I can send you our FDD to see if this is something you're interested in. If you hear about the franchise option from this podcast, email me and I will give you $25,000 off your franchise. Franchise fee is normally $50,000. I will take $25,000 off if you say that you heard about this from the podcast and I don't have to pay any brokers or any commissions. I will take $25,000 off. And for $25,000, you can have a Perkins Roofing franchise throughout the state of Florida. There are tons of territories open. Each territory comes with 100,000 qualified households plus commercial real estate within that territory. So if you're interested, for only $25,000, you can have your own Perkins Roofing. Work with me. I'm going to help you make a ton of money if you do that. Cheapest, best way to make money around. A quarter or more the price of college, and you can make way more money than most college degrees are going to net you. So Perkins Franchising. And if you need consulting help, Perkins Consulting, we can assist you with running your business. So if you already have your own business and you just need help, if you don't know what overhead is, need help with your overhead, don't know how to do work in progress accounting, need help with that, don't have proper pricing models and need help with models or business systems, leadership, or individual projects, then let us know at either of those numbers or that email, franchise@Perkins, or you can just email me, tim@perkinsroofing.net, and we'll hook it up. We will help you out with any consulting for any project or for building your business, for helping to build business systems. Perkins Consulting. Now let's continue with the podcast.
So let me see.
I've done that before. I've made that. Yeah. There was one time that some guys were taking forever doing a coating job. And I was like, I'll show these guys. I went out and I coated the whole roof. It was like a 20 square roof or something. I did the whole thing in like 4 hours. And they had taken like days to do. I think they took like 2 days or something to do the first coat. I was like, these assholes trying to, play the hours game on me. I went out there and I did the whole thing, the whole top coat myself in 4 hours. And I was like, look at that. See how easy that was? I was like, you guys take like 2 days to do one coat, 2 guys. I did it by myself in 4 hours, so I've been there. But I didn't go back to them. I actually showed them, and then they stopped messing around after that.
Yeah, yeah. I found I don't hire a lot of people off the street, right? My brother and I, we've been in business over 20 years. And I found I brought in a lot of family and a lot of friends. And I found that if I can find the loyal individuals, I can teach them roofing. The loyalty is a hard one to teach, you know. And there are workers and there are bosses, and we all have our own little area that we gotta work on. And some guys just want to collect a check, and that's okay. But they need to realize that we're still part of a team, and the less waste we have on labor numbers gives us the ability to continue pushing for more jobs, to keep bringing work in, to do pay raises, bonuses, all that stuff. So it's important that you get the employees on that same page, man. And it's tough. It really is, especially for roofers, because we're extremely hard-headed and egotistical. Didn't have a lot of great options in life. We weren't turned down by, or we didn't turn down a job at NASA because, we were just too smart. We're kind of, most of the guys on these roofs are in it because, they made some bad decisions, and it's still an industry that they can go in and bust their ass and make decent money and support a family.
Yeah.
So back to where I was at, where my life was. Gas stations were a nightmare. I got out of that. And I ended up getting a job at a personal training gym. I was into working out and bodybuilding, and got a job as a personal trainer about 99 or 1999. And I worked there for about 9 months, and I ended up buying the gym off my boss. And that was probably one of the most rewarding, funnest, coolest jobs ever. I was helping people transform their self-respect, and I had the ability to work out in between clients. I was in the best shape of my life, and about 2001, me and my new wife decided to move up to Central Florida. So sold the gym, sold my house. In between the moves, when I got into roofing, one of my buddy's dads had a company, and my buddy was a mess, and I was basically a glorified babysitter. I'd have to pick him up and drag his ass to work and make sure the job got done. And they were a commercial roofing company, so I started in commercial roofing, and we did a lot of cope and cap details. So I started my metal work back then. Moved up to Central Florida, got back into plumbing for a couple of years. Second marriage didn't really work out, sold the house. When I moved, my brother kind of took my spot in the roofing company. So I was going through a divorce, selling the house, and he calls me up, and Hurricane Charlie had just hit the west coast of Florida. And he's like, "What do you think about starting our own roofing company?" I don't have anything to lose. Let's do it, And he was the guy selling the jobs, running the business, and I was the guy on the roof running the guys. Learning by trial and error, because I didn't know much about roofing at this point, about 2004. Year and a half over in Florida, Myers area, Wilma, South Florida. So he stayed up there right here, started some jobs and running work out here. I think it was 2005. I started my first roof, and the type of detail and perfection of your measurements, because if you mess up on metal, it gets super expensive really quick. So it was one of the things in roofing that you really had to use your head. You really had to think. You had to see angles. You had to see details. And I really kind of fell in love with it. And I saw the structural integrity it provided the homeowner, and the protection against hurricanes. And I really started getting passionate about metal probably about 05, 06, and ended up getting my buddy Doug, who was also a Publix manager. He got tired of Publix, and we had all kinds of work from Hurricane Wilma.
Anti-Publix podcast.
Yeah, right? They're a good company, man. They're just,
Make good sandwiches.
Yeah, right? But he came over, and me and him just did metal installs for about 2 years. I just didn't have anyone that could handle it, so we ended up doing it ourselves. And, working up on the roof and just two buddies. It was usually just us two. Sometimes we bring a third guy in to help, but two buddies just talking shit. And it was, one day we're going to open up a metal shop and, a little bit of a dream. It was cool. And so we kept pushing, and the real estate crash happened. And that was a hard hit to the industry. People were losing their houses at this time. So the last thing they're going to do is put a roof on it. Mm-hmm. So we pivoted a little bit. We started doing foreclosure cleanouts for the banks. And I got into repos at night just to make extra money. And it was exciting. It was fun. I was a younger man, so the danger was cool, So doing repos at night, bank cleanouts, and roofing during the day. Working it up, eventually picking up. I'd say, 2011, 2010, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
2012, I got in a bad truck accident. I pushed my femur through the back of my pelvis. I was in a wheelchair walker for about 9 months, man, and I didn't know what I was going to do because having a bad hip and working on a roof all day was not a good mix, man. So I went to college. I decided, I'm going to go to college. I want to be a civil engineer. Those are the top dogs in construction. Let me try this. And, I kind of had my college experience ruined because here I am. I think I'm like 36 at this time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm walking into college my first day, and I hear, Mr. Dyer, Mr. Dyer. Hi, Mr. Dyer. It's one of my daughter's friends that grew up at the house. And I'm like, you just ruined my college experience. I can't look at any of these girls that are on campus anymore because, same age as my daughter. It was horrible. But I did a couple of semesters while I was going to physical therapy and trying to get my shit right, and started back on a roof, just running some guys, taking it easy, back making some money. And I realized, if I go to school for 4-6 years to be an engineer, I'm going to make the same amount of money I can make in roofing, So it was kind of a no-brainer.
And be out 4 to 6 years of college tuition and the opportunity cost of making that money at that time.
Absolutely.
That's why I tell people all the time, an SBA loan is cheaper than going to college. Right. Sure. An SBA, if you want to start a business, an SBA loan is way cheaper than going to college.
Well, for so long they pushed college, Yeah. I mean, it was college.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids get out, can't make good money with the degrees they chose, and they've got all this debt. Where some of the guys that got into the trades were making money as they learned, And I feel like for a while there, society was kind of shitting on that,
Yeah.
Just the blue collar guys, are beneath everybody else. And with the way things are going right now and AI and all that stuff, a lot of these people that got college degrees are going to be out of work.
Yeah.
And us blue collar guys are still going to have jobs.
Yeah. Robots can't do roofs yet.
Not yet. We're a couple of years out. And if the guys get in now and learn the trade and learn how everything goes and what needs to be done, they're still going to need guys to run the robots.
Yeah.
They're going to need people that know how to do the job to be able to run and watch over the robots. So I think blue collar is the safest field probably right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about robots taking over surgeries and
Yeah.
doing lawyer stuff.
Yeah, robot. Okay, so AI, apparently it came out today that AI, and today is, what's today? The 13th? Friday the 13th, 2026,
Ooh,
March. Yeah. So it came out today that apparently AI is now hiring humans to do tasks. So someone will task an AI to do something that it is not possible for the AI to do because it doesn't have a human form.
Right.
And so then the AI will go and hire the human to do the task for the AI.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
Wow.
AI is now hiring people.
Right?
Yeah, we are already becoming the slaves of the robots and AI. Crazy.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. All right. So how did you get to the metal shop from roofing to the metal shop?
All right. So I break my hip, right? And yes, I'm able to get on a roof and work, but after a year or so of the injury, I was in a lot of pain. The type to slow down. And I got real bad on pain pills. Got a heavy pill addiction. Because I could work like an animal, it was like putting on a Superman cape, you know? And battled with that for a couple of years. Decided to get sober in 2017. Part of me getting sober was I've now realized I physically can no longer do what I'm good at, you know? And it was crushing to my manhood and my ego and, you know, not knowing what I'm going to do. And I stepped back and I started coaching the guys underneath me how to be leaders, how to run jobs. And it gave me the ability, instead of running one job at a time, it gave me the ability to be able to run 3 or 4. And I started training some of the guys I saw potential in, and they've worked their way up. And after a couple of years of everything running smooth and money coming in and everything's great, I got complacent. I got comfortable. I felt like I was losing purpose, you know? And I decided we were doing a lot of metal roofs, and all the metal fabrication shops in the area sucked with their customer service, their support, their communication. And the last shop I was in was actually a buddy's shop, and I love him, but he wasn't on point either. And I talked to him, and I'm like, "Look, man, let me rent some space, put a couple guys in here. They'll help you with your stuff. They'll do my stuff. Let me see if this is something I want to get into." So that opportunity gave me the ability to kind of learn the industry without paying a huge amount of money for the learning curve. You know what I mean? So we did that for about 2 years, and we built a little bit of reputation with other roofing contractors, and we started getting a lot of work in. So about 2.5 years ago, we decided we're going to invest. We're going to get a shop. We're going to get the machines. It was, several $100,000 investment, but I'm not going to lose, you know. I bet on myself all the time because I know I don't quit. So we started our own shop over in Davie, Florida. We do metal work for several different contractors in the area. And I learned I could no longer build with my hands on the roof, because there's nothing like that feeling of building something and getting off and looking at it and taking that pride and like, yeah, I built that. You know what I mean? And I was always a perfectionist too. My brother used to talk shit about how slow I was, you know, but I never had to go back to my job. So that's the difference.
Yeah. It's cheaper to do it slow and right the first time than have to come back and re-go a whole second time and fix it.
Yes.
So.
And plus the customers don't tend to like that either. You know?
Exactly.
So I could no longer build with my hands, but I realized I can build other men to be successful. I learned I can build businesses, and that satisfied that desire to build. You know, when I got off the roof, I think the company was probably just over $1 million a year. It was, nothing crazy. Just a couple dumbass redneck brothers putting some work together. And when I stepped off the roof and I started coaching and we were able to start handling more work, you know, it went from 1.5 to like 2, then to 3, then to 4. Last year was a little rough, but you know, we took $1 million company and probably got to about $6 million a year, which wasn't bad, you know, and because I had the ability to step back and kind of see the big picture and run the guys, it made us more successful. And the experience I had from that and the experience I had from the other metal shops that weren't meeting, you know, my expectations, I was able to build the metal shop.
Did you ever read E-Myth? The book
No.
E-Myth?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the book E-Myth, they describe that as the business owner, you should not be working in the business, but you should be working on the business. And basically they describe 3 different roles within the business. They have the technician, which is the business owner who's actually out there doing the work, like how you began. Then there's the manager, which is basically the person who's just the operator, right? Running your operators, sending your crews out, stuff like that. And then there's your owner, who's actually the person developing business systems and transforming business and coming up with new ideas and that kind of thing, rather than actively just being in the day-to-day in the trenches all the time.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you actually basically live that progression without even realizing it from that book.
And people have a tendency to get stuck in the on-site stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I read a good book. It's called the Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, Jocko.
Yes, that was an awesome book, and it's a good read, guys. If you have a chance, check it out. He talks about his time in Desert Storm, different operations they did, and it's entertaining because he talks about the experience in the battle, but then he parlays it into the business world and how to run your teams on the business world. So if you guys have a chance, check that book out. It's a good read.
Yeah, it really teaches you about accountability. There was a point in time where I had every manager and salesperson, not the techs, right? But I had like everyone who had like a leadership position in my company. I made everybody read that. And then we would, every Friday at the end of work, we would all come back and we would do like a book study where we would talk about the chapter. So every week we would read one chapter together and then come back and like talk about the chapter and what we learned. So awesome. Marco still talks about that. But like definitely, I feel like that book will teach you all about accountability. People think that they have accountability. They think, oh no, I own it. But they actually, until you read that book, you don't get it. Like you actually don't, because you'll be like, oh, like you'll tell people like, oh, sorry about that. Like my guy messed up or whatever. And then without even realizing, they'll start blaming other people. That's the biggest lesson I took away from it.
Yes.
Is like, I felt like I was accountable. And then I would tell customers like, oh, sorry, my guy messed up or whatever. And I wouldn't take the ownership myself. I'd be like, my guy messed up. I'll come back and fix it. Sorry. Sometimes you always have to do things yourself. You know, that's how it is. You always got to do everything yourself. But what the book teaches you is actually you're the leader still. You're still the leader. So even if your guy messes up, it's not your guy messing up.
It still falls on you.
It still falls back on you. You have to take ownership of your guy messing up. And your guy messed up because you didn't do something right. Either you didn't direct them right. You didn't give them the exact specifications. You didn't double check the work like you should have. Yeah. So like it always should fall back on you as the leader. So yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely.
Since we're talking about leadership and team building, like you guys have the coins. Like I thought that was such an awesome idea. Besides that, like if you want to talk about that, I'd love if you talk about the coins that you have, the tokens, and then
do you happen to have one?
It's in my truck. I keep it in my truck in case I need. Yeah. So if you want to talk about that, I feel like that's awesome. An awesome way to kind of like get your team on board and like give them some buy-in. So if you want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So to me, it was about building a culture, right? Coach my guys from experience, because everything I learned, I had to learn the hard way. Usually 2 or 3 times, just to really make sure it didn't work, you know? So I wanted to create a culture where my teammates put the team above their own personal needs. And, you know, if you have a team that puts the team first above their own personal needs, you can't stop that team, you know? They're unstoppable. So every year for the holidays, I make these little silver coins for the guys. And we got the roofing company on one side, the metal shop company on the other. On the front of it, it says, "Fuck your feelings, we got shit to do." And it's a picture of the Statue of Liberty throwing a Molotov cocktail. Because the world was in a crazy place when I started these during COVID, you know? It was just wild. So on the other side, we also have a sense of humor. On the other side, it says, "Off your ass, on your feet, out of the shade and into the heat." And that's something my very first roofing boss used to say to us. So, and then real small underneath that, it says, "Looks good from my house," which is kind of a joke in the construction industry when you're slapping something together. But the coins represent the team, and everybody on the team, including my close contractors that I work with, I consider are on the team as well. And what those coins are good for is one personal favor. So anybody on the team that has a coin, some help from somebody else on the team, they can pull that coin and say, "Here, I'm pulling my coin," and you have to help them to the best of your ability. You got to do everything you can to make it happen, you know? And I want everybody to have that same mindset, you know? We're real big with our little pinup girl logo, and we got it on a bunch of the trucks. And I got a couple of friends that aren't in the company that like the logo and wanted to put it on their truck. And I told them, I said, "Look, this is part of a culture. If you see a truck with this logo on the side of the road, you are obligated to pull over. You're obligated to help another brother out." So everybody that's got that logo on their truck are part of the community, part of the team, you know? And I feel like it's important, you know, society's kind of fucked up right now, you know, and we can't change the politicians. The only thing we can change is ourselves. And if we strive for personal excellence and we strive for perfection and we fall short, we're still doing pretty fucking good. And if we can do that in ourselves, it then kind of ripples out to the people around us, and then the people around them and the people around them. And before you know it, you've got a whole community of individuals that are trying to do the absolute best and trying to just, you know, help the guy next to them. So the change that people ask for in the world, man, we got to start with ourselves, you know, and I think it's important that these people understand that, because it's almost like, you know, the people above us want us sick, fat, lazy, broke. That's what they want from us. So if you do the exact opposite, you're going to be okay, you know?
What's hilarious about that is I woke up this morning and I told my wife, I was like, "Man, daylight savings, there's no way that there's a purpose for this anymore. They say it's for the farmers. What percent of America's farmers? Less than 0.01%. You're going to really change time for that?" No, because I felt like we just had daylight savings, if you're listening or watching or whatever. And I have felt like crap all week because of losing 1 hour of sleep.
Just an hour too, but yes.
Yeah, I felt like crap all week. And I'm just like, man, there's something behind this. They're trying to mess us up. It's like a pharmaceutical trick or something. It's
right.
Like pharmaceutical industry is just trying to make us sick by making us lose an hour or something.
Well, and then by like 8, 9 o'clock, you're absolutely beat, you know?
Yeah.
I take a shower and sit to watch TV and I'm nodding out. Take me like 2 weeks to finish a 1 hour show, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so you have 2 businesses, right? How is building systems, how does that differ from your roofing shop to now your metal production shop that you have? Like were you able to use some of the same systems that you developed and just kind of transition it to a new area? Or did you have to kind of like reinvent different systems for yourself? And like also like, I guess systems wise, how much did you pull from other people and how much did you just like invent?
I don't even know if I invented any of it. You know what I mean? I got a lot of training through Publix, right? For customer support and paying attention to your inventory, that kind of stuff. Same with Doug, who's my partner in the shop. So we were real big on back stock and keeping an inventory and supporting the customer with everything they need. I mean, contractors that are on my team, I'll go meet them at a job site. I'll talk to their customers. I'll help explain some of the stuff they might not know. I mean, we had a job over in Coral Springs. The front of this guy's house looked like the seams were angled.
Mm-hmm.
I went over there. We put levels on everything, and everything was square and plumb. But the roof line was twisted a little bit. So you pull in the driveway, and all these freaking seams are just slightly angled, and it didn't look right. And the homeowner was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want you to change it. I don't know if I want you to do all that." I said, "Look, man, you come home every single day and pull in this driveway, and every single day you're going to look up at that roof right above your garage and say, 'These motherfuckers.'" I said, "No, we're going to change it. We're going to make it look right. We're going to angle the panels, cut the bottom at an angle. The seams are going to look straight, and you'll be happy." And that's what it's about, man. At the end of the day, we are the best metal shop. We are the best installers because of the experience I've had along the way. And I've taught that to all my guys. Like I'm a nitpicking motherfucker to details and stuff like that. And I coach my guys through that, And it's not all, it's not all beatings.
Yeah.
They do very well. And I would put my guys up against anybody out in the metal world. I really would.
Yeah. So what about so obviously stocking is a thing. What about because obviously now having a shop, you have to have a ton of equipment, right?
Yeah.
How do you, is that any different? How do you see, okay, we have to maintain this equipment. We have to buy more equipment. How do you see your levels of production and how much equipment you need versus what you don't need? It's a little bit different than or do you see it the same as owning trucks? Is it just the
it's
same?
like having trucks.
Yeah.
But you know what the difference is? Trucks, you got mechanics everywhere, right? You can take a truck to go get it fixed.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was if your machine breaks, you're waiting for a tech to be able to get here, which could be 2 or 3 weeks. And 2 or 3 weeks of not getting anything done gets very expensive very quickly. So I've had my guys just jump in it.
Mm-hmm.
Jump in it, figure it out. I've got a service tech come and train the guys and work with the guys the first year. And then once a year, I have the manufacturers come and service everything and go over everything. But yeah, that was an expensive learning situation when the panel machine went down. And the other part of that is sometimes the parts are a month out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's killer.
Yeah.
That's killer right there. 2 is 1 and 1 is none, right? You always have to have backups.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. The economy right now. You mentioned earlier that, it kind of made you take a step back and you had to kind of start doing other stuff the last time that the economy went down in 2008. It's my view that we're pretty close to that kind of thing happening again. Right now we have way more houses that are for sale and not enough buyers than even before 2008. Prices have not dropped yet. There's going to be a time where prices drop because they're going to have to, because the market's just going to come to an edge. All the prices are going to start dropping. We might be
not just housing. Not just housing. What about the oil? What about crude oil right now?
Stock market. Insurance rates are insane right now. Insurance is so high, crazy high on everything. That that's a giant bubble, insurance bubble.
Yeah.
Us as roofers, we know how expensive insurance is ridiculous. If you ever want to know what percentage of your house being done is just the insurance cost, it's probably like 15% or 20% of your house.
That's if you've been in business for a while. and you're getting good rates. Some of these newer companies, man, they're paying 36 to 43 cents on the dollar.
If they actually have roofing insurance.
Yes.
Which is the other trick. There are a lot of loop arounds for insurance where people can get painter's insurance or whatever instead of roofing insurance, which won't cover a fall, which doesn't cover anything over X amount of stories, which won't cover a roof leak or any of that stuff. But all right, so about the economy right now, looks like things are going to get bad. Like, since you've already lived through this, like I haven't. I didn't start roofing until like 2013 or whatever. So like I was coming in like right as things were getting
picking back up. Yeah.
I mean, like I went through COVID, so we dealt with COVID. But having gone through this, like what kind of preparations are you making right now to prepare for? I mean, like we're already seeing it on our end. Like this is the slowest I've been since COVID. So I don't know about you guys, but like how are you preparing?
Probably started the last quarter of last year, maybe even the last half. Like the residential side really started getting real slow. I remember we were doing probably 8 to 10 tear-offs a week, like through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, right now we're down to happy if we get 3 in a week, happy. Luckily the commercial side is still slamming, so that kind of offsets it. But the metal shop is pretty much strictly residential, and I've got some big contractors we work with that spend probably over $500,000 a month in marketing. And they went from like 100 jobs a month down to like 45 to 50, it's getting a little rough out there. My suggestion, and I know you always have, keep it as fucking tight as you can. A lot of people in our industry, because most roofers aren't the brightest, start making some good money and they start buying all this bullshit, the expensive cars, the jewelry,
boats,
the vacations, yes, even equipment, and getting a big shop. And what they don't realize is now you've got all this overhead. If you got a couple $100,000 a month in overhead, when that work dies down, that negative amount of money is going to combine real quick, So me and my brother, we've always ran it tight, man. We got a shop for the roof company. We got the metal shop. I still work out of my house, I believe in not spending what we don't need, and I won't finance anything I don't make money with. If I can't afford to buy it, I'm not ready for it, That's pretty much, what I got right now. I'm kind of all in the industry, so we're going to just keep slugging away, man. We're kind of shifting our marketing and our leads idea around. Instead of hiring outside, marketing lead generation companies, that's really kind of died off since like October of last year. Google kind of changed their algorithms and stuff. So all these lead companies suck, so we brought an in-house marketing guy. We're starting to do, little videos and different stuff organically. I have a feeling that people are going to get extremely tired of AI here shortly. And they're going to want this personal shit. They're going to want the real face-to-face stuff. You know what I mean?
I hope, man. There's companies out there firing their whole sales staff and running their whole sales on AI through Evil View and through just busting it through an algorithm. And then they text you. You get these texts. I get them all day. I get like 10 of those text messages a day. Hi, this is Allie from whatever. Do you need a new roof? We're doing a roof down the street. It's a robot.
Well, and I'm old school, man. I'm a face-to-face guy. That's why I came down for the podcast. We were going to do this remotely, but because I'm a dinosaur, I don't really know how to work this stuff too well. I swung a hammer for a very long time, so came to do face-to-face. And I feel like it's more personable.
Yes.
All
right, so like for me, for instance, I'm really kind of pushing a little bit of AI stuff right now. our residential, and like I've always been this way. Like I've always been about organic marketing versus paid marketing. Like we spend nothing on marketing except for like, hey, we're gonna do these videos, or we're gonna do like, unless we're gonna like throw an event. Like that's our marketing budget, like throwing in-person events, stuff like that.
And it's been successful.
Like, yeah,
it has. You've done very good with those videos, man. I love them, and it's kind of pushed me to start doing my own videos for homeowners to educate them on metal.
Yeah,
a lot of people get into this not even realizing the different profiles and the different thicknesses and the different aspects to metal roofing. I feel like it's important for us to try to educate our salesmen, because they can't educate the customer unless we educate them. And we can't educate them if we don't have the education, So I'm going to start making these videos, one geared towards homeowners, one geared towards contractors, just to try to help get everybody, up to speed. And anybody that's a customer of mine, I will go and sit down with your sales team. I will bring you to Metal Alliance, which is our main distributor that we use, and they'll share their knowledge with you. And I know some metal roofing, but Tara of Metal Alliance is a freaking whiz. She's probably forgotten more about metal roofing than I know.
So you said commercial, you're still good. How, like, there's a lot of young guys out there who are doing, just starting roofing. They get some houses under their belt. They're like, okay, I'm getting some residential houses. Like, I know people in this neighborhood. I know someone at the HOA board, whatever. But everyone wants to try to get into commercial, right? Because they see these big buildings and they think, okay, that's where the money is. So how does one make the jump from residential to commercial?
So my brother and I were pretty lucky because we started with a commercial company, so we kind of had some commercial contacts just getting started. In the commercial world, it's more about relationships. We don't market at all. We don't advertise at all for commercial work. It's all from the relationships we've built over the years. I'd say you got to get in with some GCs. You got to start building those relationships. You got to start showing them what you're about and that you can handle your business. Everybody wants to get into commercial, right? It's fucking so easy, and you're going to make all this money, and it's a piece of cake. And what they don't realize is how much money it takes to float all that shit. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars you're spending a week just covering payroll and materials, waiting to get paid on this commercial job in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Yeah, dude. The Postal Service owes me like $60,000 right now from work I did 2 months ago.
Dude, I'm still in a lawsuit from 2018, $600,000. This general contractor kind of took us for. We started this big community and we got it all torn off and dried in, and they were supposed to pay us the $600,000 draw from the homeowner association. They decided to take that $600,000 and go buy a fucking roofing company and try to get us out of the project. So it can go south real quick, man. I was ready to steal these guys' dump truck and drive it to their fucking house, But I've gotten a little calmer in my old age, But
that's good. Dean never did. Dean would always talk about taking ice picks to people's roofs and poking holes in it if they didn't pay their bills.
Yeah. No, they drove up to ABC in the new dump truck. My brother saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he fucking told me, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to go steal the dump truck and drive it right to his fucking house. But I reached out to kind of a mentor, you know what I mean? I reached out to a guy that's got life experience ahead of where I'm at. And, his first response was, let me get my fucking helmet. Let's go, Then we laughed, and, he kind of talked a little sense into me. I was a little wild when I was younger,
All right. So sales, right? Like you guys have similar sales mentality to me because you guys make all our metal panels and you do some installs and stuff for us too. And you guys are a really quick turnaround. So I always tell my sales team, I'm like, look, 48-hour turnaround at the most. If you can, best if you can do it within 24 hours. And you guys are a very similar mentality. When I ask you for a quote, like it's boom, boom, boom. So like how does your sales process work? Like what kind of technology are you using or leveraging for your pricing? Like you don't have to give away any secrets by any means, but like what kind of stuff are you doing on the sales side?
So sales is more my brother's niche in the company. I'm a roofer, hammer swinger. So all my technology
But what about your pricing? So when I email you and I ask you for a material quote for a project, are you literally writing it?
You ready for this? Yeah. I print out your sketch and I do it with a pen because I taught AI how to do it and shit. And it took longer for AI to do it than for me with a pen. Just because I've got a lot of experience in it. I can look at the sketch. I know exactly what we're going to need. And it takes me about 2.5, 3 minutes. And then I just got to run the numbers attached to the cut list. And I've got it, where AI was taking about, I think, 10 minutes to get it back to me.
Yeah.
And I was just getting frustrated. Because again, I'm a dinosaur, and
you never thought about making an algorithm. I'm going to help you. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make an algorithm where all you have to do is enter in some measurement items, and then boom.
And it does it. Yeah, we got that. We've got Roofar that they use on the roofing side of things. They bought me a laptop, and it's sitting there on top of all my papers that I write everything out on, and I open it just to print out my sketches. That's it.
And then close it back again. Nice.
Yeah. So, but yes, we are getting some systems in because if I can streamline that, that's going to save me a lot of time to be able to focus on running the business, on the business,
So one thing that I try to teach people, young entrepreneurs and stuff like this, if you're listening, because I see some crazy contract terms out there where people are taking like no money until the very end of the job. Like there was a project I bid. It was like a $400,000 residential re-roof for these rich people from Europe. And they wanted to select me. And then they tried to change my contract terms to like 5% down, 10% at dry-in, and then like 25%. It was like 25% at delivery of tile. And this is like a really expensive tile or something. And then basically they were holding like 60% until the end of the contract was completed. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And they literally chose another contractor because I wouldn't meet their contract terms because I know that's probably going like these are probably billionaires, right? And I'm like, they're probably gonna try to screw you at the end, and then they're gonna try to either settle with you for a lower number or it's going to a lawsuit. And I've been around the block enough times to know better than that. So like my contract terms are 30 down, 30 at mobilization, 30% when you're topping, whether it's metal, tile, shingle, whatever is delivered, and 10% final. Because to me, you need like this type of business runs on cash flow. You need the money to front the job. The 10% that I'm getting at the end, that's my profit, right? So like if I don't get paid the profit, I can live. But like I need to pay my guys, I need to pay my vendors. So like for me, like that's the blood. That like cash is the lifeblood of the company, right? So like that's how I run my terms. And I see such crazy contracts out there, and I'm begging other contractors like, please, like, think about cash flow as a need basis. You need cash to run your business. Don't go out there throwing these crazy terms around because people are going to take advantage of you. And you don't realize it yet, but once it happens to you and you learn the lesson,
that's what it is.
It could put you out of business. So
you can't teach people what they don't know. You know what I mean? They don't know it, So my terms are similar to yours. I take 10% up front.
Yeah.
Right? Only because if somebody backs out of a contract, it's only 10% you got to give them back. You minus your permit fees, whatever your setup was. But we take 10 up front. We take, so 10 up front. We take 50 at dry-in. Like when the materials get delivered and we schedule the dry-in, we ask for 50. And we usually get it the day of dry-in, maybe the next morning. Then we do, let's see, that puts me at 60. Then we do another 30 after we pass the in progress.
Yeah.
And then the last 10 at the end.
Yeah. So it's very similar to
yes. Because we learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, then you will too. So yeah. It's going to happen.
And when it happens, you reach out to Tim and you'd be like, man, you were right.
Yeah.
I should have listened.
All right, industry trends. You're the metal man. Like you're the master of metal. Like I know a bit about metal. I have some pretty good videos on how to install metal roofs and stuff like that. That maybe I've done the best at creating visuals for people on a step-by-step basis on how to actually do metal roofs, because we actually did it on real roofs. On like there's vendor videos out there where they're doing on like a 1 square deck that they made in a back shop. They didn't actually do it on a roof, right? Yeah. So maybe I visualized it the best, but a lot of that stuff I've learned from guys like you. So like, where do you see like industry going as far as roofing? Like obviously metal's hot right now. So I just want you to talk about a little about like how you see the roofing industry trending in general, metal roofing in particular, and then also like obviously like metals and styles right now. So like, what are some of the what kind of styles, colors are you seeing rise in popularity right now?
All right. So right now, I'd say dark bronze is the killer. That's the probably, I don't know, about 70% of the colors we sell is in dark bronze. It's very hot right now. People are liking it with their dark bronze hurricane windows. And, you know, just it looks sleek. It looks nice. I got into metal, 22 years ago, something like that. And it wasn't very big back then. You had spots here and there. And I saw the industry kind of going that way. And that was what helped me make the decision to start our own shop. I don't know what the numbers are. Probably could have researched this a little better, but I know metal has taken over a significant amount of the market from what it was, and it continues to grow every year. My only fear is that we metal everything and nothing needs to be re-roofed because metal lasts so long,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, it'll take 10, 20 years to get to that point.
We'll be okay,
Yeah.
If our kids are coming behind us, might have to figure out something different,
Metal roof coatings. Angle. Yeah, that's when you get back into rekinaring the metal roofs. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so some questions about metal roofing. I want to talk about, first I'm going to let you give me your 3 tips. Because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your 3 pro tips for roofing contractors, your 3 client tips for homeowners and roofing clients, and then your 3 biggest myths and misconceptions in metal roofing. And then from that point, I might have some follow-up questions that I want to ask you, because I think that there's some very important information that you can get out there that people need to know. So let's start with the pro tips. Give me your top 3 tips for roofing contractors for metal roofing.
I mean, first and foremost, it would be educate yourself, educate your salesman, because they can't educate the homeowner if they don't know enough about it themselves. And, one of the things I do offer is I'll come and sit down with your salesman. I'll sit down with you anytime you want, and go over any particular, concerns or questions you've got. So this is kind of going to play on both the homeowner and the contractor. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the differences in the different types of metal roofs. Mm-hmm. You've got snap lock nail strip. Cheapest way to do it. Absolute cheapest way to do it. Quickest way to do it. It will not withstand a real hurricane. We went to the west coast of Florida after the hurricanes went through there, and there was snap lock laying all through the streets.
I saw the same thing. I know there too.
Everywhere.
Same thing, yeah.
Everywhere. So you got snap lock nail strip. Cheap. It's going to oil can. It's going to show every little imperfection in that deck, every curve or high point on that deck. It's going to show.
Here's the trick, man. People know the difference between island style roofs, which, exposed fastener 5V mostly, and people know standing seam, but they don't know that there's snap lock standing seam versus crimp standing seam.
There's 3 different.
Which types. I almost like. We need to popularize the terminology. I feel like standing seam, we should just get rid of that. Like nobody should even say the word standing seam.
That's what we do.
We should just say snap lock.
We call it mechanical.
Or mechanical. Yeah, exactly. We just need to get rid of the terminology standing seam. Yeah. That's because that's a misnomer. People can get tricked up and tricked and think that they're getting the best roof when they say, "Oh, I got a standing seam roof," but it's a snap lock.
Well, and I feel like for the industry, for the insurance companies, those guys don't know the fucking difference.
Yeah.
You know?
No, they don't. Those people know nothing.
So if they start looking at the reports and, oh, look, metal roofs fail too. Well, it was because it was snap lock metal roof. Look at any of your mechanical seam customers, and I guarantee you, unless their rafters split and the decking pulled off the rafters, that metal's still on the house.
Yeah.
You know? You mentioned 5E crimp. I have 5E crimp on my house. When we were in Punta Gorda, the mayor over there decided they want a special color, metal 5E crimp roof, right? So we get the metal special ordered. You had to fucking order like 100 squares worth. And we start laying it, and the wife comes home, gets out of her car, says, I don't like it. Take it off. My brother calls the mayor up, and he's like, man, fuck her. Take it off. Go back to the white tile we had. I'll pay for the metal, and just put the same tile we had on before. Make the wife happy. So I took all that metal home, you know, and I put it on my house, my barn. I gave some out to my buddies. And I've had to replace those fasteners 3 different times.
How many years?
It's been on there over 20 years.
And how far are you from
22
saltwater?
years.
So 22 years, 3 times replaced the fasteners. And how far are you from saltwater?
I am about not even 10 miles from the Everglades. So I'm about as far from the saltwater as you can get in Florida.
That's important, people.
So every time you replace those screws, you got to get screws a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, there's a possibility that it will strip out, you know, and not hold that metal on correctly. So I've done it 3 times, and the last time I had to do it, which was prior to COVID, before the prices went out of this world, and it was about $3,600 worth of fasteners, plus my guy's labor, and you know what I mean? So that's definitely one thing you want to school a homeowner on if they're asking for 5E.
Yeah.
They don't realize the maintenance. And I probably changed them a little sooner than I had to, you know, because I'm a roofer and trying to stay ahead of things before it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, also they back out. People don't know this. They don't understand that thermal expansion, if you have too much heat in your attic, will push the screws back out. And then when the screw comes out and the washer and the screw head are not over the hole, you're going to get leaks down those screws. People don't realize that.
And then I have seen some horrible installs where either 5E or like a PBR panel, which is probably kind of popular up here every now and then, they put the fasteners on the low part of the panel. You always want to put the fasteners in the high part. That way, if the neoprene washer fails, the water is going to run to the lowest point, and you're less likely to get a leak that way. So, man, there's a lot to know, you know?
Yeah. All right. So tip number 1, education. There's a lot of education. It's not, you can't just look at a pamphlet and be like, oh, I know about metal roofing. It's a lot. Even my videos, you can't just watch 1 or 2 of my videos and be like, oh, I'm good now. Maybe for a homeowner, that's okay if you're trying to make a decision on what you want. But if you're actually in the field installing this thing, you need to do hands-on training before you install these roofs. Like watching my YouTube videos, like maybe that's okay if you're tiling your kitchen floor or whatever, but like you should not be doing a standing seam roof from watching YouTube videos. There's too much error that can happen. You can waste way too many panels from bad cuts. Like you actually need like on-site training, and you probably need to have a couple guys like masters with you to guide you for a few jobs before you really like start ripping loose on your own. So just a lesson to take away.
Well,
so,
if you're a good contractor and you believe in what you do and you believe in the importance you're providing, helping people protect their home and their families, you realize, okay, I'm not a professional. I don't know this shit in and out. And that's when guys like Tim call me. That's why he brought me on his team, to help him do the best he absolutely could for his customer. It's kind of like if you look at the medical industry, right? You're going to go to a general practitioner to do heart surgery on you, or are you going to go to the specialist, the heart surgeon, to do it? you know, and it's okay to be a general roofer or to cover these areas of roofing and maybe not know everything in this area. And I feel like it's important for the salesmen, the contractors. Dude, us roofers are full of pride and ego, man. We want to say we do everything, that we got the biggest dick in the world and we make millions of dollars a year. But, you know, if we're open and honest with the customer and we explain to them, hey, I'm going to bring in the metal specialist, or I'm going to bring in a tile specialist to handle this. That way it's the absolute best roof I can provide you. And it's not the cheapest way to do it. It would be cheaper for Tim to get his own guys, do his own shit, but he's not providing that same value to the customer. You know, it's like, okay, you're building a motor, right? You're going to have your general mechanic build a race motor, or you're going to go to a high performance motor builder to help you get your motor right, you know? And that mechanic, if he's a good mechanic, is going to say, look, I don't know much about building a fucking race motor.
Yeah.
But here, I got this engine builder that does. Let me send the motor over to him. He'll build the motor. I'll put it in the truck, you know? It's the same concept. And I feel like the industry has gotten, saying you don't do everything in-house has kind of gotten to be such a big deal, because there's so many companies that hire subcontractors that don't really know what they're doing, and there's no oversight on them, which I find in a lot of these call center roofing companies, these private equity companies that really don't know shit about roofing. And they hire these subs, and they hire the cheapest subs they can find, and there's no oversight. And I've gone behind some, and I have seen some nightmares and had to fix a lot of shit because my name is now attached to that roof, you know?
Yeah, I call them the tech bros. You want a tech bro doing your roof, or do you want an actual roofer doing your roof? You know what I mean? So, okay, so we got 2 tips here. Education, and then know your limits is what I would call that one. What is tip number 3 for contractors?
Make sure you have quality installers.
Yep.
It can get very expensive. Metal is pretty much the one type of roofing that gets expensive quick. You know, if you're laying tile, if you're laying shingle, I mean, hell, even if you're laying slate, you make a mistake and all you have to do is grab another piece to fix it, you know, and it's just one more piece of shingle or one more piece of tile. Metal goes from the very bottom of the roof all the way up to the ridge. So those are long panels. You mess one up, it could easily be $100 mistake each fucking mess up, you know? Mm-hmm. So make sure you get some good installers.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for homeowners, what are your top 3 tips if they're looking for a roofing contractor to do their metal roof, or any roof, I guess, in general? What are your top 3 tips for homeowners that they may not know?
All right, so first one, how long has the company been in business, right? You can check Sunbiz. You can see when they started, Better Business Bureau. Those are probably the first ones. You know, it's crazy. I look at some of these big companies, you know, and you start tracing back when they actually started. And they claim to have 40, 50 years experience, they say. Not in business. They say experience. And in reality, they've been open 4 or 5 years, you know.
Yeah, number 2 or business number 2, or they changed
or they bought an old company that was established 50 years ago that had nothing to do with roofing, but it was just an established business. Then they changed the name, and now their roofing company's been around for 50 years. Yeah. So dig into Sunbiz. It's easy. Yep. All you do is type the company name in there, and you can start going through their annual reports, and you can start seeing if things aren't lining up. Online. To me, those are kind of hit or miss, because how many guys do you call you asking, do you need me to do reviews for you? I can get you 200 reviews for whatever the dollar amount
You can tell if you actually read the reviews. You can't just look at the star rating. That's the trick. If you actually read the reviews, though, you can tell if it's a real review or if it's like. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like for now, maybe it gets better. But like if robots are doing it or whatever, it's pretty easy to tell when something is like fabricated.
I always look at the worst reviews too. I look at like the 1 stars. Let me see where they fucked up. You know what I mean? And how they handle it. You know, nothing goes perfect, right? So we all make mistakes, but it's how we handle those mistakes that really make a difference. Mm-hmm. You know, to me, that's the most important thing, because shit's always going to happen, especially in this industry. Yeah. You know, you get into something and you don't realize, you know, every single rafter's got termite damage up the ass, and you're lucky your guys didn't fall through the roof. And now you got all this unforeseen stuff. And now the price is snowballing. Very easily shit can get out of hand. And every now and then, these guys are roofers, man. They're fucking hard-headed savages. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're going to get the phone call that somebody was pissing in the homeowner's bushes. And, you know, what the homeowners need to realize is the guys that are actually pissing in your bushes don't want to take the time off to go all the way down to the store and use a bathroom to then come all the way back. They're more concerned about getting your job done. I'm not saying I condone guys pissing in the bushes. I'm just telling you that's the mentality of those guys, is they don't want to get off the roof too long because they have a job they got to get accomplished before they go home.
What kind of homeowner doesn't have like a exterior piss area, right? Like, I mean, that should be standard. If you want to, especially if you're a guy, like if you're just a woman, okay?
Yeah.
If you're a dude and you own a house, you know there's a place where you go outside at night after one too many, where you go pee outside because you don't feel like going back inside and waking someone up.
I feel like that makes you feel like more of a man too when you're out in nature. You know?
All right, so check out the reviews. I agree with that one. What's number 3?
Reviews. Social media is a good one. You get a feel for their company a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, you see the guys that you know, kind of just pay and throw some bullshit out there. And you see the smaller companies that give a fuck about their content, you know, like Tim, like Perkins, like us. You know, we put a lot of thought and a lot of heart in what we do, you know. And it's important, too, when you look at those pictures, everybody can take a picture with a drone from 50 feet away. You know what I mean? When I post my drone shots, I also post my rooftop shots that show all the details in all the areas that these other companies can't show.
Yeah.
You know, so just look at the details, just like in everything in life. You know, it's important to figure out how long they've been in business, the pictures, referrals. In the metal industry, you know, how much metal do they actually do? You know, we did last year, which was a slower year, we did 271 houses. We installed 271 houses. That's a good number. My guys have experience. You know, all my guys, that's all they do is install mechanical lock standing seam every single day for 6 days a week. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Repetition is key.
And that's kind of why we stuck with one profile, because I want my guys to master one profile rather than having an assortment of things that they're okay at, you know?
Yeah. So I'm going to just add one thing on with the Sunbiz too, is like, you want to see who the owner is, right? Like, do you want the owner who's doing your project, do you want to be able to access them? Like if something goes wrong, don't you want it to be a person instead of like some shadow corporation?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's another thing you need to look at nowadays, because 30% of roofing businesses in the state of Florida right now are private equity. The whole rest of the country is only 8%. Yeah. It's insane. Like they're buying all the companies.
I'm sure you've gotten offers. I've gotten offers.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, the smaller companies, instead of helping a CEO get a big bonus at the end of the year, you're actually helping guys like me and Tim put a kid through college or pay for a little league, or, the smaller companies tend to give back to the communities a lot more. It's kind of like going out to dinner, right? You'll go out to dinner to a chain restaurant, or if you go out to dinner at a little mom and pop restaurant, which one has more soul in what they do?
Yeah.
You're going to get a better product if you've got people that really care about what they do. If it's just a corporation just trying to make some money, looking at some margins, it's a different ballgame. You're just another number to them. I'm sure people can contact you that are your customers, and you will show up on the job site.
Yeah.
I do it myself. I do it for my customers' customers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's part of what we do because we give a fuck about our name.
Yeah. I'll go down to Miami because my office will tell me, hey, Tim, we've got this client down here who's a huge fan of yours and just wants to meet you. And so I'll literally drive that hour and a half or two, if bad traffic, 3 hours down to Miami just to meet someone, just because they watch my videos and they want to meet.
Well, you are becoming a superstar.
So myths and misconceptions. I feel like this is really important for metal roofing. What are the top 3 myths and misconceptions that you see about metal roofing that are out there?
All right. So number one, definitely the number one question I get from homeowners is it going to be noisy in the rain? And that comes from the old tin style roofs, no deck at all, just, panels on top of rafters. And yes, obviously you're going to hear some rain falling with just bare metal there. But everything we do down here, it's on top of plywood, minimum of 5/8 plywood. You've got attic area in most houses. So it's really not any
insulation.
Yeah, insulation in your attic, it's really not any louder than shingle or tile. The next biggest question is it going to make my house hotter? I get that one a lot too. And, it doesn't hold that thermal heat like asphalt shingles and cement tile does. It's just like going outside and touching your driveway. If you got a cement driveway or a blacktop driveway, the sun can be down and that shit's still radiating heat. Metal is similar to your car. When it's in direct sun, yeah, it's hot. But the minute there's no direct sun on it, it cools off. So in actuality, and especially if you go with a lighter color metal, you get some reflectivity from it. But as soon as it's not in the direct sunlight, it instantly cools off. So you can actually lower your cooling bill by putting metal on your roof.
Yeah, depends on the color. And tip and trick, I guess, for other roofers out there. If you're doing maintenance on a black metal roof, don't do it in the middle of the day, in the middle of summer. Do it first thing in the morning or at the very end of the day.
Absolutely.
I've burned my hand on black metal before, and it's not fun.
I've installed them in the summer. It gets hot quick.
Yeah, keep the panels upside down until you need to put them on. All right, one more. What's your last myth?
Let me see.
Noise, heat.
Have you heard any?
Yeah, a lot of them.
What do you got?
Wi-Fi.
Oh,
Wi-Fi is a big one. Is that going to
question.
mess up my Wi-Fi?
Is it going to mess up my cell phone connection?
Yeah.
It kind of depends on what area you're in. If you've got iffy cell service, it could make it a little worse. If you're in a populated area that you constantly at 6 bars, I haven't seen any reduction in it.
Yeah.
But I live out by the Everglades, so I'm a little bit out of the realm of things. So my old carrier, I didn't get good reception in the house, so I switched carriers. Everything's good now.
Yeah, it can depend on the carrier. I feel like and this is what I tell people because I've actually lived this, is when you install impact windows, it's worse for your Wi-Fi to install impact windows and doors than it is to put the metal roof on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, impact windows and
Maybe
doors.
Maybe it was the impact windows that.
That will mess up your cell. So that'll do it, but I've not noticed metal roofing doing it. All right, so I got a couple questions here that I wrote that I want to hit you on. U.S. made versus China made. You got here the American flag on your sleeve. If you want to show it off for the people, yeah, there you go.
Guns.
I got American flag there. Everything at Metal Alliance is U.S. steel. So U.S. versus China, what's really the big difference? Why should people care about having something from the U.S. versus something from China?
All right, so I was brought up in a household. My father was in the Marine Corps in the Seabees, and instilled a lot of American pride on us, you know. And I start looking back at the Industrial Revolution, the World War II, and that's kind of what I themed my websites off of because of the amount of American pride that was there back then, you know. And if we utilize American products, it's going to help the entire country and the economy get stronger and better and less dependent on other countries. China tends to do stuff the cheapest way possible, cut whatever corners they need to, whether it be while they're manufacturing or while they're getting rid of the waste from manufacturing. You know, here in America, we got a little tighter guidelines that these factories have to abide by. You know, the factories aren't employing 13-year-olds to do stuff, you know.
From my experience, the fasteners are more consistent.
Yes.
Like the Chinese fasteners,
it's absolutely
they're
more
like inconsistent with
consistency.
your drill bits.
More consistency with the American products.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we get domestic steel from Metal Alliance. I know they do outsource a small percentage to Japan, just in case the domestic
It's like 1% or something.
Yeah, it's a small percentage.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, Japanese steel it actually comes a little thicker than the specs because they get paid by the weightage that they ship. So they always shove a little extra in there so they can make a little extra money. But the American pride's big, man. I love this country. I love the opportunities it's given me and the people around me. And, you know, just a dumb redneck that dropped out of 10th grade was able to build something out of fucking grit, determination, and probably a lot of stubbornness, you know. And that opportunity is here for anyone willing to do the work, man.
Yeah, what's crazy to think about is like China is our biggest competitor internationally. And every single person listening or watching this podcast works somewhere, right? You have a competitor if you're working. Are you really going to like boost your main competitor? Are you really going to help them? Like, why would you like give them fuel? To me, it's kind of a little crazy, but what about
not only that, but I mean, hell, we've become dependent on China, on their manufacturing. I mean, pharmaceutical industry across the board, everything. You know, if we bring more of those jobs home, we're not as dependent on somebody else, man. And in life, I've learned that the dependency is the biggest thing you can gain. You know, when you're dependent on everybody else to live your life and maintain your life, it could go south real quick, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the same. You're out here in the sticks. You know, you got your chickens and stuff. It doesn't mean you got to do everything yourself, but if you have the ability to do anything that needs to get done, you're in a much better position.
Yeah, don't rely fully on the guy. All right, this is a big one that I see here. You don't really have to deal with it down south, but Kanak versus mill finish. I see people all the time trying to pricing mill finish instead of Kanak coated because it's cheaper. And what happens to me is I have to, and I don't always get the opportunity to educate people on the benefits of the Kanak panel versus the mill besides just aesthetics. It's not simply aesthetics. Absolutely. Because even here where I'm at, like you just said, I'm in the boonies. I'm pretty far west. I'm right next to the Everglades. And I have neighbors that have mill finish roofs that have rust spots on them and they're less than 15 years old. So
it depends on whose metal it is to start. Mill finish has an acrylic coating. It's almost like a clear coat they throw on there. It's got similar warranties to the coated stuff, but it is a little bit less of a product, you know, with the Kanak coating, and not just the Kanak coating, but the products we use has what's called Fluoropoon by Sherwin-Williams Kanak coating. So anybody that knows anything in the paint and coating world, you know that Sherwin-Williams is pretty much the top guy in painting. So that was one of the reasons why we went with Metal Alliance, because of the Sherwin-Williams coatings and the floor print. So on top of it looking cool, you get a little bit more thickness protecting your roof. The acrylic coating is, you know, it's just a quick clear coat. You know, when you paint anything, even when you paint your house and you got to cut into it or something, and you see all those multiple layers of paint, it's actually protecting your drywall a little better. You know, if you were to just, you know, slap a little clear coat over the drywall and leave it like that forever, how long is it going to last?
Yeah.
How easily are your kids going to fucking knock a hole in it?
Hey, 2 seconds. All right. So I think besides that, the only other thing I have for you is aluminum. I run into this all the time, not by like houses near the ocean, but people think, oh, I'm not far from the ocean, but they might be on like canals, whatever. And it's like, okay, if you're near a canal and that's your proximity to water, how do you judge? Because they say if you're near salt or brackish water, 1,500 feet, you should be doing aluminum. So how do you judge like what brackish water is? Like how do you know like what kind of canals, tributaries, like what requires aluminum? So if you're like, even if you're like 2 miles inland, but it's by some sort of like canal, like how do you judge if it should be aluminum or steel at that point?
So one of the benefits I have is I'm also a fisherman, right? And I fished every area of Broward and Dade, not so much up here, you know, but I know what areas of saltwater fishing, what's freshwater. What I would say is figure out the closest body of water you have, get a sample of the water and get it tested, you know. And you can trace back the intercoastal ways. And usually where the brackish saltwater stops, there's a lock. And then on the other side is freshwater. So if you kind of trace back through canals, you can kind of see where it starts. I mean, through Broward County, I can tell you with no problem what's what.
And been in all the spots.
But the freshwater, not so much, man, because you figure Florida, it's always raining or humid here. So the canals, freshwater isn't really going to affect things.
All right, now give us your best fishing spot. No, I'm not doing that. I want to do that too.
Nice.
All right. So you got anything else on the tail end of the podcast that you want to pump? Anything new you guys are doing at Trade Productions?
We're just putting together, I'm updating the website. You know, that's the roofing company, is Trade Productions. Obviously your man Tim here with Perkins Roofing, fucking awesome as well. But any of you contractors out there that want Metal Productions is the name of the metal shop. And we got a website. It's metalproductionsinc.com. Go on there, check it out. I'm still tweaking some things. It's fresh. We're getting ready to work on some YouTube videos similar to what Tim does, trying to educate homeowners, contractors on metal roofing. That's it, man.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me.
Best guest for podcast number 1.
Right?
TNT
I'm his first.
Yeah.
I broke him in. Later, guys.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening.
Wake up, make moves, wake and make, we coming for you. All right, that's the blueprint for the day. Another episode in the books. Tim Kanak, Perkins squad, dropping knowledge like nails in the roof. All right, that's the blueprint for the day. Another episode in the books. Tim Kanak, Perkins squad, dropping knowledge like nails in the roof. You came for the smoke on trends, leadership and financial change. Left with the tools to build your own, now go break them reins. Remember, wake early, make daily, stack that equity high. Construction kings and queens, sky's the limit, touch it, don't just fly. Shout out to the hustlers grinding in the dirt and the heat. Financial freedom, call it, answer it with concrete feet. Till next time, keep building, keep rising, keep that fire lit. Wake and make, we out, peace. Don't forget to hit subscribe, you dig?